Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Ruffle Feathers podcast where the community meet. Today, I am here with the beautiful Nadia.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome, and thank you so much for stopping by. And we are just going to dive into some really deep topics, some good topics, a little controversial, but you know what? We are here for the community, and we are going to get all of the information out here, and we are going to set the record straight. Right, Nadia?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Nadia, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Let's see. Where do I begin?
Yeah.
A little bit about myself. Okay, well, I am transgender female.
Mm-hmm.
I started my transition I was 23, and I'm about to be 39 now. So it's been a while.
Right.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah.
I've lived here in Charlotte for almost 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Next month will be 2 years,
Okay.
and I've loved it so far.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, I'm just ready to answer your questions
Yes.
and dig a little bit deeper with, my
Yes.
transition and the community and,
Yes.
what it means to me and
Yes.
all of that.
You ready to shed light on the community and, bring forth some very important information.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you doing this is so amazing because it gives us a chance to share our story. And there's so many stories out there that need to be shared.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you so much for being so courageous and transparent and just your bravery for wanting to come on the show to, share your story.
Thank
so
you.
I thank you, and the community thanks you as well.
Appreciate it.
So tell me about life growing up for Nadia.
Okay. Well, like we discussed earlier, I was very insecure in myself.
Yeah.
And growing up, I was a very feminine kid. I knew that I was different. I knew that I didn't want to play all the masculine things that other boys wanted to play.
Right.
I didn't want to be doing sports. I didn't want to play with, tractors. I didn't want to play with boy things. I wanted to play with pretty things, and I wanted to be around girls all the time. I don't know why. I just felt so comfortable with them and so accepted, and they were so nurturing and sensitive and sweet. So I think that growing up with that and then transitioning was a little bit difficult because when I first came out as, a gay little teenager, a little twinkie, pretty Mexican boy in high school, I was always surrounded by people that admired that. And, it was an awesome place to grow up for me anyways. Like, it was a very welcoming environment. But I felt like after I transitioned, it wasn't like that anymore. It was like, there was like a judgment from the female community, like other cisgender women, and even with trans women. It's like it's a hard thing to deal with, to just always try to be positive and try to be open with other trans women, because it's not accepted very well. And also with cisgender women, it's not always accepted. Like not everybody is like you, that's so open and welcoming and wants to get to know the real you, instead of like kind of just looking you up and down and like thinking like, oh God, what is she about? Like, what, and like sizing you up and like kind of like a competing thing and like comparing one another. So I just have to say again, like, it's amazing that you're doing this, because it means a lot to me, and it's so important for us to like accept one another, and not just in my community, but in all of our communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you feel like it was a little bit more like when you came out more so as a gay man, that was more acceptable for society, but
more acceptable for like females in particular.
Okay, so for females,
because a girl is like always gonna for the most part gravitate towards a feminine little boy or like man, because they feel comfortable, they feel seen, they feel like it's easier to vibe with, it's easier to talk to and things. And that's how I always felt with my girlfriends in high school and stuff. But I felt like after I transitioned, it completely changed, which I get it. Like I know why, and I know where it comes from, and we're all insecure about so many different things.
I was going to say that. Do you think that it was the insecurity?
Yeah, I just have to be okay with myself.
Yes.
And I have to always remind myself that I am a good person. I am put on the path that I am meant to be on, and all I can do is just accept that people don't really know that they're doing this, that, or the other that is hurtful towards somebody else.
Absolutely.
It all comes from inside, and it all comes from your own insecurities. And I'm just trying to love myself more and accept myself more and forgive myself for being who I am and not apologize for it and just live my life. And all I can do is that. So.
Absolutely. Just living your truth unapologetically.
Yes.
I love that. I love that so much. And you said that you transitioned at the age of 23.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my favorite number. It's like my birthday is on that day, and then my transition was on that day, so I feel like something with the number 23 is
so
like
everything
special.
just kind of, the stars just kind of aligned in that way. That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. How was it coming out to your family, not just as transitioning, but for them to be able to, like, were they accepting of the fact that you were even just a gay man?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had to essentially come out twice.
Okay.
So the first time was in high school, and it was actually kind of like a forced situation because I didn't ever know that I was actually going to come out. I knew that something was different about me and that, you know, I liked males and I wasn't into females. I tried to convince myself that I was and like, no, I'm normal. I'm normal. Like I'm not gay. I'm not this or that. But basically how it happened is that my dad found some things on my computer, some questionable things. So he confronted me about it. And then I was like, so I had to just kind of own it and be like, this is, you know, and so I was like actually at the grocery store with my mom and I knew that me and my dad had already had that conversation about everything. And I was like, oh gosh, it can't be like a secret between us. So like I have to just come out and be honest with my mom and see what happens. And I was so scared and I was so nervous, and we were at the grocery store. And I remember her just, you know, she's just like shopping and stuff. And I was so nervous and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? How am I going to say this? But I finally was just like, you know, Mom, I'm gay. And I just started like pouring tears. Like it just came out of me because you're just so vulnerable and you like put yourself out there, and this is something that you're not supposed to be like in so many different levels. So she was just like, well, I mean, she didn't really know what to say at the time. She was more like, well, we could talk about this when we get to the house. But basically, and she was like, why are you crying? I was like, I don't know.
Right.
You know?
Did you feel like you disappointed your mother?
Well, yeah, there's always that in the back of your mind. It's like, why am I different? Why am I this way? You know, why did God make me this way? But it feels right inside. So basically we had a conversation, me and my mom and my dad together, and they just were basically like, you know, you're young. You know, don't make any commitments to yourself. Like you might just be going through a phase or whatever. And I was like, you know, my dad was like, I was, you know, confused about things when I was young too. And I was like, were you confused about this? And he was like, no. And I was like, okay, then, well, I pretty much know.
I'm not confused.
And it's never changed since then. So yeah, that's basically how that went. And they were like, you know what, like you're our child no matter what, and we love you no matter what. So that is like the big takeaway from the situation, was that it was okay. I was so scared, and then after that I was like, well, damn, I should have done this a long time ago. Like I've been so living this whole time, to be honest with everyone. And then it was like just the floodgates open for you, because then you're not hiding yourself.
Off your shoulders.
Yeah, exactly. And then with being trans, I can't even remember where I was or what we were doing. It might have been over the phone that I told my mom. But I was working at a hotel, And I had already started growing my hair out. I had already started putting makeup on.
Yeah.
I was dressing up in high school as a teenager, like in my room, like on my own.
Okay.
So it kind of like,
Yeah,
got me
like
to the place where I was comfortable enough.
Right.
And yeah, I finally made the decision at 23 to start my hormones and to talk to someone who was an actual, oh God, what are they called? Endocrinologist is like the person for your hormones. So I went to that. It was a recommendation from a trans woman that I knew.
Okay.
And she told me to do that. And I did it. And yeah, I felt so good about it. I was like, I feel like I'm doing this the right way, whatever the right way is, but I felt like it was my right way. So yeah, it was life-changing when I started just actually wonderful. Embracing it and doing it. Yeah. I remember the first time I went out in public, dressed up or whatever, and I had to like cover my stubble and like was so scared and nervous that somebody was going to like spook me, which means like know what I am. Right. And that I was born a male, and I was just so nervous everywhere that I went. Yeah. But now looking back on it, like that feeling to me is so different now. It's so foreign. Like that doesn't even cross my mind now anymore because I'm so comfortable in my own skin. And even if somebody does know, I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Like that's more
good
power
for
to
you.
me.
Yeah, good for you. Like I'm still going to be who I am.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. I love the fact that you feel comfortable in your skin and that you live your life, like you said, unapologetically. Yeah. I love that about you.
I try to.
Absolutely.
I try to.
Absolutely. So what would you say to another, a younger transgender woman that was just starting her journey? Like if you was able to take her up under your wing, what are some of the things that you would say to her?
Oh goodness, there's so many things. I mean, with anybody that's struggling about being their own selves or that they're scared to do something that feels right to them because of others' judgment. Right. I think that the most important thing is to always just be true to yourself.
Absolutely.
And because you're your only worst enemy and you're the only one that controls what you do and how you feel about yourself. Absolutely. So it's really important for you to just be true to yourself. And there might be times when, because there's so many people that want to transition or want to come out as gay or want to do whatever it is that they want to do, but they have so much shame that's attached to it. So they're like, oh my God, my whole family is going to disown me if I'm real and honest and true about whatever it is. Yeah. And that can be a really scary thing. And I do understand how that feels. Right. But I was one of the lucky ones that had support from my family and acceptance. Yes. But so many other young people, like young trans kids, don't have that. Support. Yeah. I mean, I would just say, just be true to yourself. And if you can, live your life the way that you want to live it and just be honest with yourself. And like we were talking about earlier, everything else will fall into place.
It will. And sometimes, your biological family, that you can find other family outside of your biological family who will love you and who will support you.
My chosen family is, if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be or who I would be. Because the support from our peers that go through the same things on a day-to-day basis, it's just so important. It is way more important to have that than even your actual family because they don't understand what it's like. They don't know the pressure and they don't know how it feels inside. Right. So when you connect with those people outside of family, they become your family and they become your support system and your biggest cheerleaders, your biggest fans. Absolutely. And it's so important.
That sounds
I
very
owe my
important.
life to my chosen family because they're my soulmates,
Yes. So, I mean, I think that you've already touched on this, but I mean, would you say at this point in your life, like you're happy? Like you feel
I would
happy?
say that I'm getting there.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm still just as lost as anybody else and I'm still trying to figure things out. But I feel lately, especially, that I'm getting so much closer to completely loving myself.
Right.
And that's really hard to do, especially being someone that has kind of like felt so much shame about it from an early age.
Yes.
So it's taken a long time for me to be okay with myself and actually learn what really like loving yourself means and what it is. It's like self-care. It's like forgiving yourself for doing something that, instead of like negative talking yourself. Like I've had a huge problem with that in my life. And it's just, once I have gotten past that, I'm like, wait, that's not even me. Like I need to be my best friend first before I criticize what I'm doing. Like I need to love myself. So I'm getting to that point. And it's really been life-changing for me. Like it's really a huge, huge help. And just having gratitude for the things that I have and not comparing myself to this, that, and the other person that's got all this.
That
and like
is very important.
Life. Like, you know, we're so lucky with what we have and we have to be thankful for it. So that's what I've been practicing lately, a lot of gratitude, and it helps me turn my inner happiness outward, and it helps me like connect with other people. And I feel like this is like such a blessing to have you want to connect with me in that way. It was all meant for a reason, and I really believe that.
Thank you. And I believe that too. And I'm here right now, and I'm going to give you permission to love yourself and to accept yourself. You are so beautiful.
Thank you.
Not just on the outside, but on the inside. And I think that is the message that I want to be able to express to people, that people should not focus on the exterior of people. And, you know, but it's about what's inside that matters, you know? Is Nadia a good person?
Agreed.
Does Nadia have a good heart? Does Nadia give back to her community? Does Nadia pay her taxes? You know, does Nadia love her mother? Does Nadia, you know, help people? You know, do you look out for people? That is what's on the inside is what should matter the most, right? And not what's on the exterior.
Exactly.
And you have a beautiful spirit, and
Thank
I love
you
what's
so
on the
much.
exterior.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Interior. I apologize. What's on the interior?
All of it.
Exterior is
it's
flawless,
the total package.
Okay, but what's on the interior is what is really important.
Yes.
You know, and
Thank
I love
you.
that about you.
Thank you.
Do you ever have a fear of being trans? Like,
yes. I mean, there's always, you know, I was telling you that I'm more comfortable in my skin now when I'm like walking around, and I used to be so scared too before, but it's always like in the back of my mind that my safety is paramount.
Right.
Like keeping myself out of certain situations. Like I know that I could at any time go to the wrong bar or the wrong area or walk down the wrong street, and I could be one of those statistics, which is somebody finds out that I'm trans, whatever way, like however, you know, if they want to try to like hit on me or if they want to try to like rape me or whatever.
Right.
And then it might end up that I will be just dead in the gutter somewhere. But that's always behind my mind. But for any woman, it's behind your mind. Like, and even for any man. So it doesn't stop me from being myself and trying new things and getting myself out of my comfort zone. As long as I know that I am going to be safe for the most part, then I'm good with it. Like this, like I feel so safe. Like this is why I wanted to do this, because it's nerve-wracking, you know, it's like out of our comfort zones to be so vulnerable and to be open about something that's so deep to us. But I feel like anytime that you go out of your comfort zone and you survive it, you're going to grow as a person.
Absolutely.
So that's what I try to do.
Absolutely. How is dating? Like, is that a struggle?
Dating is,
I think that's a struggle for anybody.
Yes, for anybody, it's a struggle. For me, there's just so many layers that go along with it. I'm always going to, I guess, put myself out there and hope that I do meet the right person, but it's not like such a huge, strong emphasis. You know, I'm trusting in the universe to connect me to the people that I am meant to be connected to. And when it happens, and if it happens, if it doesn't, that's totally okay. I was not meant to be with anyone. You know, I was meant to focus on myself and give my love to everyone. So
I love that.
when it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm okay with that. But you know, I'm not really, I've never been the type of person, because I knew, I guess, going into this, that I guess I never expected this story, this fairy tale ending for me, like a wedding and like a big white dress and like flowers everywhere and the perfect husband and kids and all that stuff. My dream was always different. It was like, I'm gonna one day be myself, and like that's just kind of what I exactly, like be accepted and just so that is like additional for me. Like if that happens, it's going to be a huge plus. But I'm not going to be broken down if it doesn't happen. Exactly. Absolutely. But dating is terrible. Oh my God. Guys,
again, not just for you.
Guys are the worst.
Yes, they are.
And I'm sure, like, when I talk to my lesbian friends, oh my God, they're crazy too. Like,
really?
I can't even imagine. Like, sometimes I wish that I was a lesbian, but then I talk to my lesbian friends, I'm like, oh my God, that happened? Wow. Y'all are messy. Y'all are messy. But the whole thing, like, even straight couples, like, they have their own just tangled webs with each other. So I think I'm good.
That's why I said you're not the only one. That is universal. Yeah, okay, exactly. That is literally like universal.
Dating sucks across the board. So
absolutely,
it is what it is.
I can attest to that. So when you do meet a guy, how transparent are you? Like, are you transparent at the beginning, or do you kind of like get to know that person?
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of get to know the person first.
I do try to like feel out the situation and have like, you know, some conversations about, am I even really into this person first before I divulge the deepest part of myself. But yeah, I mean, I try to do it from very early on, because I don't want to have to like waste my time with all of the other stuff and try to like, I would never try to trick somebody or get them, you know, to believe that I am a cis, like that doesn't even make any sense to me. So yeah, I always try to be super honest about it from the beginning, because if you're not, I mean, again, I don't want to be one of those statistics where somebody, you know, we're like in the bed and then it's like the surprise and then, you know,
it can turn bad.
It's like,
it can turn really bad.
That is not
so safety, safety is extremely important.
It's not to say that I didn't used to do that when I was younger. When I first transitioned, I was very ballsy with that. Like me and my girlfriends, and you know, 9 times out of 10 it would be a great thing and they were awesome and they were down for it or whatever. But now that I'm older, I'm like, what was I doing? Why did I do that?
Because it could have
been really ugly, like
very
so many
dangerous.
times. So
well, I'm glad you definitely grew out of that, because I mean, of course, safety is, you know, most important, you know. So I'm glad I'm glad you're okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad nothing ever happened, but you know, that could be a very sticky situation.
Yeah,
so
I've been very lucky.
I'm glad that you've evolved and grown
I've been blessed.
from that.
Yeah,
for sure. So let me ask you this. So when it comes to like cisgender women, do you compare yourself to cisgender women? You know, like, what type of similarities do you have with cisgender women, and do you like what kind of, you know, not nonsense similarities do you have with cisgender women? Like, do you identify like, okay, I know that I'm not this right here, but you know, I know that I do identify as this right here.
It's kind of like, it's hard to really like put all that into words, because I mean, I don't think that I really compare myself to cisgender women, because I think that growing up, like I always had such an admiration for women that it made me become who I wanted to be. Because I always met really amazing girls and women, and they were just so supportive and nice. And I know that there's always going to be, women and men that are not supportive and not, nurturing and don't want to be bothered. So,
absolutely.
And that's okay. Like that's their own journey. We're all on our own journeys. But I don't know. I try not to compare myself to anyone, to be honest, because
that's the best answer you can give.
I can only be me, and we are all different people. Like whether we're cisgender women, whether we're, gay men, whether just all of it. Like all I can do is just treat people how I would want to be treated and just learn from that and go from that. Like it's whatever else is going to be gravitational is going to be good energy, and, and hopefully they're not comparing themselves to me or whatever. Also, like even with, other trans women, like, we're all individuals.
I think, well, see, okay, so me being a cisgender woman, and not me personally, I don't feel the comparison or, the trying to be replaced, but there is a lot of controversial stigma around like, hey, like we have to change this right here. Like it's no longer women's health, it has to be females health, because now you have trans women and we have to be considerate to trans women, and and so a lot of women feels like we're kind of, our backs is up against the wall a little bit, and like we're fighting for our position, for being cisgender women. Like do you feel like you get kind of like slack from women who are cisgender, like I would never, like you're not, like things like that?
I honestly have been really lucky. The times that I have been open about me being trans with other women has been really well received.
Good.
And I would hope that there's going to be a different time where it's not about you.
Right.
It's about me being seen for who I am.
Absolutely.
And deserving the same treatment as anyone else.
Absolutely.
And nobody's trying to, stomp on your territory or push you out of the way or anything. Like just the fact that we have to fight for our own existence is ridiculous to me. Like it's not like this is 2024.
Right.
It's a new day.
Yes.
Like we are all here on this earth trying to exist.
That's it.
We
all want to be noticed, and we all want to be accepted.
Yeah.
We all want to be, appreciated. We all want to be respected.
Yes.
And I think that for the community to be a marginalized group, and for me to be an African American woman, I am already from a marginalized group as well, and so I think that that's what makes me passionate about the community, is because I know what it's like to experience prejudices and being judged and, biases and, just things of that nature, just by being an African American person.
Right.
So, that is why it's very important to me to shine light on a marginalized community, because just like we want to be seen and we want to be heard, and we're smart, we're brilliant, what I'm saying, we're good people, we pay our taxes, what I'm saying? I mean, we do good things in the community, we want to be noticed as well. And I think that, the community, that's all you all are saying is, look, like, we're over here as well, you don't want to be discarded. You don't want to be looked over. You don't want to be, shunned or anything like that. And I would say, I don't feel like that's too much to ask, but I do feel like we have a long way to go.
Yeah, for sure. That's agreed. Yeah, I agree.
But
definitely.
I think that this is a good start.
Completely.
Absolutely. I think that this is a really good start. Have you ever experienced like, before your transition, did you ever experience like body dysphoria? Like, did you feel like one thing that I've always heard, and I say I'm a little bit more optimistic to it now. I really didn't believe it too much, like, prior to me being an ally of the community. Prior to me being an ally of the community, I was just a regular civilian, part of this heterosexual community.
Right.
I didn't have any affiliation.
Regular straight girl.
Right. Yeah. Regular straight girl, just living just my everyday normal life.
Yeah.
I didn't have any affiliation with anyone like in my family, no one who was close to me. So I didn't have any direct communication or contact with anyone that was of the community. So I kind of grew up thinking one way, and now that I know better, I do better. And that's why we're here today, because I want to show that I know better. And I used to always hear people say, but people are born that way, and I have 4 children. I'm just like, when I think about my kids, I'm like, I can't think of my child being 3 or 4 and watching them grow up as a toddler and in kindergarten and be like, I think I'm this way. It just, I couldn't, maybe because my children aren't that way, so I didn't see it directly. Right. But I hear a lot of people who say, I was born this way. Yeah. Do you feel like you were born this way?
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with it. And it's such a struggle when you're told one thing your whole life and you're raised that like you're supposed to be a boy and you're supposed to like these things and you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to be into females and you're supposed to get married and you're supposed to have a wife and like all these things. Yeah. So like as a child, you're like, oh my God, why am I like this? Why am I dealing with this? So of course there's going to be some mental like dysphoria, I guess is what you call it. But for me, I guess like I said before, like I've always felt blessed in my appearance. Right. I was very lucky to, at a young age, just always look so feminine. Yes. I mean, it was kind of a curse when I was growing up because I was called every name ever and it made me feel some type of way, of course. Right. But then when I leaned into it, it was like, wow, like I was meant to be like this. Like this is how God made me for a reason. Yes. And I think the biggest thing for me was I kind of go back and forth with the breast implants because I'm like, you know what? I like my little boobs. Yes. I think they're cute. They're just the right size. I wish I had. Call them little justies because they're just the right size. Right. But for me, the biggest thing was when I looked in the mirror and I had a face full of like stubble. Yeah. I just felt so disgusting. Really? Like I felt so just depressed and I was like, I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. Yeah. But once I got that laser, it was like I was done with my transition. It was like, oh my God, that's my face. Yes. Like that's the real me with all the hair gone. And again, like I feel blessed for, I guess, not really having to go through a lot of the struggles that a lot of trans women go through. Yeah. And it really sucks that our society is based solely on looks. Yeah. Like you said before. Yeah. It should be about what's I was going to ask you that. But it's not. I mean, but for me, like getting that done was just. Yeah. I was like, wow, there she is, basically. There like, that's the woman I was meant to be without the stubble. And everybody's feelings are always so different with that. Like they want the right body that matches their insides. They want the right hair. They want the right everything. And it's all an extension of yourself. So I'm totally in support of anything that anybody wants to do. Absolutely. With any kind of surgeries or anything like, and for trans men, like having the top surgery, just everything, like growing out the facial hair, it's like opposite for them than it was for me. Like I wanted it gone, but they're like, oh my God, I want it so
it
bad.
Thicker. I want it fuller. Exactly. Like I want it, like I want a full goatee.
It's all up to the person and the individual. So
absolutely. So that was a question that I was going to ask you. And it's like, it's very obvious that you do have very soft features, Yes, you do. And I was going to ask, like, do you feel like you have an advantage because you do have softer features, and that it seems as though your transition was pretty smooth, as opposed to other people who try to transition into a trans female that do have more stronger features in their face, you know, and it's almost like, you know, you can kind of be like, you know, is that, you know, where people can kind of, you know, I think that that can be very rough, you know, and that's very challenging for someone to go out into society every day. And it's like, you can almost kind of tell that that is a trans, you know, woman, but you know that that is a man. I can only imagine how hard that is, you know. And so I was going to ask you, do you recognize that you do have like softer features and that you do have an advantage to have
I do.
like softer
I feel
features?
very blessed.
Yes.
And that's not to say that I don't have my own insecurities when I'm like, you know, looking at myself in the mirror, but it's all goes back to that self-love that I've been practicing lately. And it's like, my goodness, like people basically would kill to have soft features and be passable and, you know, all that. So I feel really lucky with
is that a
with
word?
what God gave
Passable?
me. Yeah, passable is what they call it, or fishy, or you know.
Really?
Another word is fishy.
Okay.
Unspookable.
Make sure I write that down. Passable.
Passable, unspookable.
Oh,
fishy.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do they say? So what is? I mean, because I guess you put me up on terminology. So what is words that they use for people who are not passable?
Oh goodness, people who are not passable would be. I mean, one word is like brick. Another word, which means hard, like hard features. Another one would be like butch queen, like, you know, butch, just manly, just all kinds of
more hard,
masculine terms.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, you definitely taught me something. And I'm very appreciative. I'm
the bad words.
Right. But you know what? I think that if I was to hear it now, you know, I can be able to, well, probably me.
Yeah.
Since I'm an ally. You know, I would probably jump all over that. But I like to learn different terminology of the community so I can be able to communicate and, you know.
Yeah, it's helpful.
And it is. It's very helpful because.
Just go inside a drag queen's dressing room and you'll learn everything you need to know. Like all of the terminology, all the tea, all the everything. Like, it's all exposed back there.
Absolutely.
It's my favorite place to be.
Really?
Yes.
You have to take me one day. I really would love to go.
I used to work at Hamburger Mary's, and that was like just one of the best experiences, like at the very beginning of my transition.
Okay. So that wasn't here in Charlotte.
No, that was in Tampa. In Ybor City. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun. How was your transition, like emotionally, mentally, emotionally, physically? You know, was it a
Okay, that's a good question. So when I started at 23 and I told you my trans friend had suggested the endocrinologist, so I saved up my money. It was about, I think it was like $600 or something to have what they call an insertion. So it was basically 2, I think 50 milligram pills that were like time released. And so they made an incision on my lower back, like above my butt cheek, and sutured it up. So that was time released over. They said it was supposed to be like 6 months, but it lasted for me for like a year. Okay. Because I had already, when I went to the endocrinologist and I got my blood work done first, like that was the first step. He basically was like, so what are you on right now? Like, what are you taking? And I'm like, I'm not taking anything. This is my first time or opportunity where I've really been able to do it the right way. So that's why I wanted to come to you first. And he was just like, so, and I always had kind of like a little bit of like, a little bit of chest.
So he thought that you was already transitioned already. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So he was like, so what are you taking already? And I was like, I'm not taking anything. And he was like, so this is all natural. And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, well, I've never seen this before, but basically your body is already turning your testosterone into estrogen. So your levels are at, you know, basically like a woman's levels.
Wow.
And I was like, I was kind of like, I felt good about it. I was like, oh my God, like this is just a little bit of confirmation for myself that like this is like the right
right.
thing
Like
for me.
you
Like
knew
this
that
feels
this
right.
was
I
the
knew
right
that
thing.
something was going
Yeah,
on, but I didn't know
right.
what it was. So like
Yeah.
for a doctor to tell me that my
Yeah.
body was already doing that and
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, it was already naturally happening. I was like,
Yes.
wow. So after I got the insertion, like the first week to a month or
Mm-hmm.
everything, you know, like just my body accepted it really well.
Okay.
And, you know,
Your
I kind of like
transition was everything.
softened up, you
Yeah.
know, I got really sensitive
Mm-hmm.
on the breast
Mm-hmm.
area. Like it was basically like I was just a girl going through puberty.
Wow.
And it kind of like just confirmed how I was feeling inside.
Yeah. You knew it was right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say that further down the line, after I did that, the insertion, and I think I was living in Tampa at that time, and I was getting hormones from a girl that was there that used to do what they do is like they pump silicone.
Yeah, I've heard of that before.
All of my friends were doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and they all had amazing bodies, like the queens that I was back there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Really?
And I gave into the peer pressure, and it's really unsafe to do. Like, you're not supposed to be
doing it. They had a
doing
whole
it.
special on that on TV.
I know.
Yeah.
But luckily I went to someone that I trusted because my friends who were really close to me trusted her. So I went to her, but we would get our hormones from her also.
Okay.
So we would just do the whole shebang right there.
Okay.
But I was lucky because I haven't had any adverse effects from it.
Okay, good.
But I do regret it now.
Yeah.
I wish that I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
And I think down the line, I'm going to have it removed.
Yeah.
And just for my body to be safer, because you never know down the line.
Good now.
Thank you.
Looking beautiful.
It was all like,
yeah.
It was all rear end because like I just wanted like a nice big.
I probably would have
fat ass.
Did the same thing. Listen, okay.
That's what I wanted.
I understand.
I remember a friend of mine at the beach. We were all at the beach. It was like one of the like gay beaches in Tampa. And I remember somebody saying that I had a boy body and it just like stuck with me and it affected me. And I was like, man, I really need to like step it up and look like these other girls that are, you know, all getting breast implants.
You were younger then?
I was younger.
Yeah.
I was like early 20s.
Okay. Yeah.
So
now at 39, you like,
now I'm like, damn, I should not have listened to that because I looked amazing. And it was just my insecurities. And you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I accept
because
it.
Because you are beautiful.
Thank
Listen,
you.
body is banging.
Thank
you. You look absolutely beautiful
and
now.
as we all age, like who's to say that I might not get something done later on?
Listen,
but you know,
just make sure you call me.
We're all
together, okay?
we're
because
all
listen,
entitled to do that with our own bodies. So,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
So yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah,
but now I'm more comfortable with myself.
That's good. I can tell.
Yeah,
I can tell.
You.
You really exude so much confidence.
Thank you.
Like I'm telling you, like
try.
You are just.
I still feel like a shy little person.
No,
but
I would have never known. Like you really exude so much confidence. Like you literally are making me feel comfortable sitting here. Yes, you do. Absolutely beautiful. Like I said, inside and out, you exude so much confidence. And I just think that someone who is in your shoes can take so much from this interview and just take so much information from you and just be like, you know, like, I mean, you put a battery in my back, you know, you did. I mean, you know, I mean, I love your confidence. You gave me a lot of confidence. Absolutely.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's all it's about. Like that's what I want to do. I want to inspire other people.
I mean, we come from two different
worlds,
you know, and the fact that we can sit here and that we can compliment each other, that we can have a conversation with each other, that we can make each other feel comfortable, you know, and just have a conversation like girlfriends, no judgment, none of that, you know, and I think that is what is important, and that's what the light needs to be shined on for sure. Do you think that society have come far with the acceptance of the LGBTQ community?
I think so, but somewhere along the line, people were like getting fed up with it.
Yeah.
And it's like we went backwards.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that are, great with our visibility as far as like social media and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think that it was a conversation that I had with one of my best friends recently. And before he said that, I was like, wow, that does make a lot of sense. But basically, it's like we had all of this coming out and like all these people are just like, so visible now. And which it's a good thing. Like, I don't think that it should ever stop.
Right.
It should only be getting more and like more visible. And but basically it was just too much all at once. You think
that they put it out too hard, too much?
The higher ups are like, oh no, this is not going to happen. Right. They're training our children. They're like, trying to get the kids. They're like, these drag queens and like just this, that, and the other. And it's all comes from fear, and it all comes from an insecure place and a scared place, which, I mean,
I think that it also comes from biases.
Well, it comes from religion. Yeah. It comes from so many places. Yes, it comes from the way that they were brought up.
Absolutely. And people who were brought up in the church and people who don't want to disappoint their families.
But that's not to say that every person that goes to church or is religious person is that way, because there's a lot of people that are Christians that don't agree with the laws and things that are passed lately and all of the anti-trans, anti-gay things that are happening in our country. And that is what's good, is that at least we have some allies in there that can try and speak to their own people and try to get them on our side a little bit. Yes. So
I'm trying to bring my side over here.
Which
I'm trying
is
to get my side to understand.
I love it.
To,
Keep going.
Like, like
it's awesome.
Trying to open.
It's awesome to see.
If I can't open the door, I'll just, they want to close it, I'll just open the window. Shine a little light in. What do you think that we can do to, to go further, to bring awareness to the LGBTQIA? I'm going to ask you about those extra letters towards the end. But what are some of the things that you think that we can do to, bring more awareness and, go further?
I think exactly what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Just being ourselves and having a platform where, we can just be open to one another and just try to spread acceptance and try to spread the message of love. And, that's what else can we do than just be ourselves and try to be loving to each other, especially us as two women from marginalized communities that are friends and allies and care for each other. And it's just such a huge thing. Like I wouldn't have missed this for the world. Like, I'm so glad that I got to be here, because it's important. It's something so small, but it's something that's so profound at the same time. Like, just small steps get us there.
Yep. Yeah. And I 110% agree with you. I mean, you have to start somewhere. Yeah. Absolutely. What made you want to share your journey?
Same thing. Just trying to be a better person and trying to love myself and trying to also help people that are like me that may be in the same situation, that don't know where to go or don't know where to turn, or, or think that how they're feeling is shameful. Right. Just always know that you are not alone, and there's tons of other people out there that feel the exact same way as you do. Absolutely. So that's important, because all of us feel alone at times, and
with something somewhere. Our struggles may be different, but everyone does have that insecurity. Where can people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram.
Shout out your Instagram.
What is it? The THE Nadia, Nadia, Evangelina, which is EVANGELINA.
Okay.
So the Nadia Evangelina is my Instagram.
The Evangelina. I like that. That should be like your
Thank
alter
you.
ego or something
That's
like that.
my
Like create
middle
like a
name.
little. Oh,
So that's my first name and my middle name.
Okay.
The middle name came from, that's what my mother would have named me if I was born female.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, that's
so
beautiful.
You adopted that.
Yeah. So I made it into my
yeah.
legal middle name, Nadia Evangelina. I think it sounds beautiful together.
Everything just has so much purpose, and I feel like everything just fell into place for you, like in so many different ways. And again, everyone don't get this type of transition, this type of experience, this type of journey. I mean, I know you had some ups and downs, but it seems like your transition and your journey, it seemed like it may have been challenging at times, but it's a beautiful story. And
it was a struggle to actually pull the trigger and just go for it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I
you should.
Am I doing the right thing?
You're doing the right thing because someone is going to watch this and they're going to reach out to you at Nadia Evangelina. The Nadia and Evangelina. Yes, and they're going to reach out to you. Yes, it is. I'm going to get it one day, though. Okay. But someone is going to reach out to you, and then they're going to ask you, like, can you support me? You know what I'm saying? Can you be my friend? You know what I'm saying? Can you hold my hand? Can you walk me through this?
I love it. I need more.
Please reach out to Nadia. She's a beautiful person with a beautiful soul, and she will be right there to help you. I promise you. So if anyone is out there struggling, just know that you do not have to struggle alone.
Yes.
And my last question, Nadia. Okay, I know about LGBTQ. What is the IA? And why do they add on so many different letters?
Well, I mean, because our community is always evolving. Yes. And there's always something else that comes up. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's always a group of people that is not seen. And it's awesome. So I think the I is intersex and then the A is asexual. So for me, it's people that just want to be seen.
Okay.
Like, and
so they just, if they add them letters on to, listen, if the LGBTQ gonna be seen, then we're gonna go ahead and add our letters on to here. And then hopefully we could be seen too. We just know the I and the A, we see you. I promise you. We see you.
And I got this from my best friend. He calls it the LGBTQ. So like that's
I'm gonna say that
now because
I'm gonna say that
the LGBTQ. And it's cute. It sounds cute.
I love
that.
Easy to remember. Yes, I love that. Okay, tell your friend that I'm going to adopt that. Okay, and
you're more than welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna say that like on my podcast. Yes, I'm gonna spread the word. LGBTQ. What is it? LGBT. What we talking about? LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Okay, LGBTQ.
Because it's TQIA. So.
Yes, I love that. Well, Miss Nadia, I thank you so much for stopping by the community clubhouse and just sharing your story, just being so courageous.
I appreciate being here.
So brave.
Thank you for having me.
I just thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.